In 1941, as the German army rampaged across the Soviet Union, looting priceless artifacts, they stole something unique, an entire room made of amber. This is the incredible story of the Amber Room, one of history's greatest lost treasures. But before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of our awesome videos. And be sure to click the notification bell so that you will be notified every time we upload a new video. Origins. The Amber Room wasn't always a lost treasure. It had a humble beginning in 1701 when Prussia's King Frederick I commissioned a modest room to be built with amber panels, framing mirrors, and gilding. At the time, Prussia was a small state sandwiched between powerful neighbors like Poland, Sweden, and the Holy Roman Empire. The young kingdom needed prestige, and the Amber Room was a symbol of its burgeoning wealth and status. In 1716, the room was gifted to Russia's Tsar Peter the Great, who at the time was touring Europe and had fallen in love with all things Dutch. He saw the room as a way to show off his power to other leaders. Peter also wanted to revamp the image of his country. He modeled his court after Versailles, constructing grand palaces and commissioning artwork to glorify Russia's ruling dynasty, the Romanovs. Construction. The Amber Room was constructed over several years by master craftsmen using a wooden frame filled with amber panels, each one painstakingly fitted together. The raw materials came from the shores of the Baltic Sea, where amber, fossilized tree resin, had been collected for centuries. But simply gathering the material was only the beginning. Each piece had to be shaped, polished, and then gilded with thin sheets of gold. This technique was complicated because the amber would expand and contract with temperature changes, meaning that the gold had to be re-glued periodically. To make matters more difficult, the amber arrived in various shades of yellow, brown, and orange. So artisans had to carefully select the pieces to ensure they were as uniform as possible. This was not easy. Over 1,000 panels had to be assembled to form a coherent whole. Adding to the complexity, the room's walls were not parallel, so some panels had to be cut in odd shapes to fit around them. All told, the walls covered about 180 square feet, with ceilings, panels adding another 270 square feet. The resulting chamber was dazzling, a kaleidoscope of colors, framed in gold leaf and mirrors that glittered with precious stones. So pleased was Peter the Great that he invited ambassadors and other European nobility to view the room, marveling at the craftsmanship. Soon, everyone from French King Louis XIV to Swedish Queen Ulrika Eleonora had sent their congratulations. Location. When the room was finished in 1717, it was installed in the Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg, part of a larger complex of buildings known as the Greater Palace of Peterhof. This location was chosen specifically to impress visitors arriving by boat on the Neva River. The palace itself was a masterpiece of Baroque architecture. Built between 1710 and 1725, it contained many other wonders, including the world's largest collection of Chinese wallpaper. By the mid-19th century, the Amber Room was considered one of Russia's greatest treasures, drawing admirers from around the world. It remained in the royal palace until the outbreak of World War II. Cultural value. The Amber Room was more than just a beautiful chamber. For Russians, it represented European craftsmanship at its finest, a testament to the power of the Russian imperial court. In fact, Catherine the Great, who ruled from 1762 to 1796, was so proud of the room that she commissioned another one to be built next door as a backdrop for official portraits. But even that was not enough. In 1797, Empress Maria Feodorovna wanted her own Amber Room, which was built at the Catherine Palace in Tsarskoye Selo. This one was slightly smaller than the original, but equally luxurious. She used it as a dressing room while receiving guests in the adjoining boudoir. World War II threat. Despite the room's cultural significance, when the Germans invaded the Soviet Union in June 1941, they were in no mood to preserve Russian treasures. On September 26, 1941, a group of Nazi soldiers led by Wilhelm von Bosen and Heinrich Himmler arrived at the Catherine Palace and began dismantling the Amber Room panel by panel. The operation was a delicate one. The panels were covered in thick protective clothing to prevent damage. Then they were carefully removed and packed into crates, along with other loot from the palace. Once everything was ready to go, the room was locked up and the soldiers moved on. They would return later to finish the job. Transport to Königsberg. After loading the crates onto rail cars, the soldiers took the Amber Room to a harbor near Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, where it was shipped out. Its final destination was Königsberg, a city on the Baltic coast that had been part of the Kingdom of Prussia since 1282 and would become East Prussia after World War II. Königsberg was a vital port during the war, especially for importing raw materials like food, metals, and coal. But in the summer of 1941, when the Amber Room arrived, conditions were chaotic. The city had recently been bombed by the Royal Air Force, and thousands of refugees were flooding in from the east. In order to keep the Amber Room safe, the crates were stored in warehouses near the harbor. Eventually, however, the city became too dangerous for even the Nazis. As the Red Army closed in, the military government evacuated the city, and most of the room's crates were shipped to Berlin. A few crates stayed behind, however, and these were placed in a museum where the Nazis hoped to one day display the room. But their plans never materialized. As the war turned against Germany, the Amber Room sat forgotten in a warehouse. Disappearance. The exact circumstances surrounding the disappearance of the Amber Room are unknown. But here's what we do know. In early 1945, as the Red Army approached Königsberg, the city was in chaos. On April, the retreating Germans set fire to the city, blowing up bridges, destroying factories, and setting entire neighborhoods ablaze. The following month, the Soviets entered Königsberg, and soon after, the Germans surrendered. Sometime between then and May, when the city fell into Soviet hands, the Amber Room disappeared. Theories abound as to what happened. Some say it was destroyed in the Allied bombings of Königsberg. Others think it was hidden in a bunker beneath the museum where it sat. Still, others believe it was looted by treasure hunters or Soviet soldiers. There is even a rumor that the Germans put the Amber Room on a ship and sank it in the Baltic Sea. This theory is based on a 1946 report from a British naval officer who claimed to have found amber debris at the bottom of the sea near Decadane. However, this has never been confirmed. Search efforts. Since 1945, countless treasure hunters, governments, and historians have searched for the Amber Room, combing through old documents, interviewing witnesses, and scouring potential sites. But none of these efforts have been successful. In 1983, the Soviets finally reopened the Catherine Palace to the public, and many hoped that the Amber Room would be there waiting for them. Unfortunately, this was not the case. Replicas. In 2003, after 8 years of work, a full-scale reconstruction of the Amber Room was completed at the Catherine Palace. Using original techniques and materials, artisans had recreated the lost masterpiece panel by painstaking panel. While this replica is beautiful, it can never replace the original. There's something special about a work of art that has survived the ravages of time. Something that speaks to us across the centuries. Enduring mystery, the fate of the original Amber Room is one of the greatest unsolved art mysteries of the 20th century. Rumors persist of a secret bunker somewhere beneath Kingsburg or a sunken ship carrying the booty of war. But so far, these have proven to be false leads. What happened to the Amber Room? Where is it now? These questions may never be answered. All we can do is marvel at the beauty of the reconstructed room and wonder what might have become of its creators. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.